Bills Mafia, before we get into anything else today, there is one very important piece of business to handle first. It is Josh Allen's birthday. Number 17 turns 30 years old today, and if you have not already done it, you need to go down to the comments section right now and type HBD17. The Sabres may have had their hearts broken in the playoffs, but everyone in Western New York has always known the truth. It was always going to be Josh Allen who lifted the curse off Buffalo. So go show the man some love and then come right back, because what we have to talk about today is going to put a massive smile on your face. Scary hours are officially on the way in Orchard Park. It has been less than 2 months since the Buffalo Bills pulled the trigger on one of the most exciting trades this franchise has made in years, sending a second-round pick to the Chicago Bears in exchange for wide receiver DJ Moore. And already, the returns from OTAs are so positive, so electric, so genuinely encouraging that Bills fans who spent the last 2 seasons watching Josh Allen operate without a true number 1 wide receiver have every right to start getting very, very excited about what this offense is capable of in 2026. Because right now at OTAs in Orchard Park, DJ Moore is doing things that are making everyone in that building stop and stare. Let's start with what Josh Allen himself had to say about his new locker room neighbor, because the quarterback's words carry more weight than any scouting report ever could. Allen described Moore as someone who can contort his body in ways he has never seen before. Not a small guy, Allen said, but faster than you think, and the way he glides by defenders makes it look effortless when it is anything but. That spin catch along the sideline that has been circulating on social media from Bills OTAs, that was DJ Moore being DJ Moore. Yeah, he jumped a step early on the route, and Allen acknowledged they are still in the early stages of building their timing and chemistry. But the spark that was visible when those two were on the field together, that is not something you can manufacture. That is real. And here is something that makes this connection even more special than it might appear on the surface. These two guys already go way back. Allen revealed that he and Moore first met as rookies at the NFL Rookie Premiere back in 2018, sitting right next to each other signing Panini autograph cards. 8 years later, they are locker room neighbors in Buffalo, working to build something that could define both of their careers. That kind of pre-existing comfort, that natural ease that Allen described in his press conference, is not something every quarterback-receiver pairing gets to start with. It gives this partnership a foundation that typically takes an entire season to establish, and they have it entering day 1 of training camp. Think about what this actually means for this offense. Josh Allen has not had a true wide receiver 1, a legitimate Pro Bowl caliber separator who demands the defense's best coverage and creates space for everyone else since Stephon Diggs. And Diggs, of course, famously had his relationship with the organization deteriorate before being traded. Since that split, Allen has been operating with a receiving core that, while capable, has simply never given him the elite outside weapon his talent deserves. Last season, the Bills had the 4th best offense in the entire NFL, averaging 376 yards per game, but their passing attack ranked 15th, averaging just 216 yards per game through the air. Think about that disconnect for a second. The 4th best offense in football with only the 15th best passing attack. That is a team that has been leaving points on the board, and a lot of those missing points trace directly to the absence of a weapon like Moore. Moore himself brings an outstanding combination of traits to this offense. He is one of only 5 players in all of football over the last 5 seasons with at least 50 catches on throws of 20-plus air yards, the other 4 names being CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and George Pickens. That is the company DJ Moore keeps when it comes to stretching the field. And at 6 feet tall, averaging 13.5 yards per reception for his career, with elite route running ability and genuine explosiveness after the catch, he addresses the single biggest weakness this Bills offense has carried for the last 2 years. Head coach Joe Brady said it perfectly at OTAs. People take for granted that you can just go out there and pitch and catch, but there are real nuances to route running and to the communication between a quarterback and his receiver. Moore is putting in that work right now, and every day that passes, the connection gets sharper. Now, the flip side of this is worth acknowledging honestly. Moore has had seasons where he has not been utilized to his full potential, and that underutilization has everything to do with the quarterback situation around him throughout his career. Go back to his time in Carolina, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, P.J. Walker cycling through, and even when he was getting targets, the efficiency was never there because the throws were never there. When Justin Fields was actually getting him the ball in 2023, Moore put up 1,364 yards on 8 targets per game. 8 targets per game from Justin Fields, a quarterback that Moore was so loyal to that he was actively lobbying the Bears to keep him after the season. That tells you everything about how much Moore values chemistry with his quarterback, and it is somewhat ironic that his advocacy for Fields was a product of appreciation for the most competent passer he had worked with to that point. Now he has Josh Allen. Josh Allen, who just turned 30 and is entering what many analysts consider the peak window of his career. DJ Moore finally has his quarterback one. The numbers that are coming could be special. It is not hard to envision a scenario where Moore flirts with 1,100 to 1,200 yards in 2026. It should be straightforward for him to command 8+ targets per game in this Buffalo offense, and when Moore is getting 8+ targets from a legitimate top 5 quarterback in the league, the production speaks for itself. When that level of consistency finds him, he is one of the premier wide receivers in football. This is not wishful thinking. This is the math of what happens when talent finally meets the right situation, and DJ Moore has been waiting his entire career for the right situation. Now let's shift to some more good news from OTAs, because the DJ Moore story is not the only reason to feel optimistic about this Bills team heading into 2026. Max Harrison is turning heads, and the early returns from year 2 are genuinely encouraging. This was a first-round investment. The Bills used premium draft capital on Harrison specifically because of his elite athleticism. He ran the fastest 40 time of all cornerbacks at the Combine, and the physical tools have never been in question. The challenge in year 1 was simply staying on the field. He sprained his LCL before the season even started, missing the first 7 weeks. Then he battled through more issues late in the year. And yet, even in that compromised, limited rookie campaign, there were stretches where he looked like exactly the corner the Bills drafted him to be. With Christian Benford absent from some of these early OTA sessions, Harrison has been getting primary reps against the ones and looking comfortable doing it. Year 2 is almost always where the light bulb turns on for corners. The speed of the game slows down, the technique gets sharper, the communication with the safety help behind them becomes second nature. If Harrison can just stay healthy in 2026, and that is the key variable, health, this secondary could take a significant step forward. Benford, when he is right, is one of the better defensive backs in the entire league. There were stretches last season where he looked like the best defensive player in football, period. A healthy, developing Harrison next to a healthy Benford gives the Bills a cornerback tandem that can match up with the best receivers in the AFC. The injury and recovery news at linebacker is also trending in the right direction. Terrell Bernard underwent off-season ankle surgery, and that revelation explains a lot about what Bills fans watched from him in 2025. His production was down, his explosiveness was down, and it now seems clear that he was playing through an ankle issue that was limiting him in ways that were not always visible to the naked eye. Bernard went out there, got the procedure done, and came out of it sounding like a man who is ready to get back to being one of the better linebackers in the AFC. When Bernard is healthy and operating at full speed, this Bills defense becomes a significantly more difficult problem for opposing offenses to solve. And then there is Dalton Kincaid, who told reporters this week that he feels more physically confident heading into this season than he ever has at any point in his NFL career. Let that sink in for a second. When Kincaid was on the field last season and healthy, his efficiency numbers were off the charts. He was one of the most efficient tight end targets in all of football. Some metrics had him as the highest passer rating when targeted tight end in the league. The issue has always been availability. If Kincaid pairs genuine health with that absurd efficiency in 2026, he becomes one of the most dangerous mismatch weapons in the entire sport. Moore outside, Kincaid in the seam, and Knox as the veteran safety net, Josh Allen is operating with the best receiving personnel of his career right now, and Dalton Kincaid being confident and healthy is a massive part of that picture. There is also a genuinely intriguing storyline developing around Dwayne Carter on the defensive line. Carter tore his Achilles last season, a devastating injury that robbed him of what could have been a breakout campaign, but he has come back this offseason looking healthy and has reportedly bulked up to 330 pounds to compete for reps at the nose tackle spot. The Bills spent meaningful draft capital on Carter in the third round, and if he can translate what he is showing in early offseason work into actual production on the field, the interior of this defensive line gets a lot more dangerous. Third-round picks who actually pan out at defensive tackle can be decade-long starters. Carter in the mix gives this defense a physical presence up front that can affect the run game in ways the Bills desperately need. Bradley Chubb is another name worth watching as he settles into the Bills system. Early looks at OTAs suggest he is moving well and acclimating smoothly, and while it would be irresponsible to read too much into non-contact drills this early, the energy around his arrival in Buffalo has been genuinely positive. A Chubb who is operating at or near his peak form gives this pass rush a different dimension entirely, and a pass rush that can consistently threaten the quarterback makes every other part of this defense better. Finally, there is a front office storyline worth following closely as the summer progresses. Terrence Gray, the Bills' assistant general manager, has made it to the final 5 candidates for the vacant Minnesota Vikings general manager position. He had his initial interview a few weeks ago and now has a second interview scheduled. The other candidates include the Vikings' own interim GM Rob Brzezinski, Broncos' assistant GM Reed Burhart, Rams' assistant GM John McKay, and Seahawks assistant GM Nolan Teasley. Solid competition from winning organizations. Losing Gray would sting. He has been a fixture in the Bills' front office and has been part of some excellent draft decisions during his time in Buffalo. But here is the important thing to remember. If Gray gets this job, the Bills benefit from the NFL's diversity coaching and front office pipeline program, which awards compensatory draft picks to teams that lose minority candidates to executive promotions. Buffalo would receive 2 third-round compensatory picks, one in 2027 and one in 2028. Third-round picks. 2 of them. The kind of picks that produce decade-long starters when you hit on them. That is a meaningful consolation prize if Gray does land the Vikings job. And Gray himself spent 11 years as a college scout for Minnesota before joining Buffalo's front office, which could give him a meaningful edge in that interview room. The bottom line here, Bills Mafia, is this. Your football team is humming right now. Josh Allen turned 30 today, in the absolute prime of his career, with the best receiving corps he has ever had surrounding him. The defense is bringing back a healthier, hungrier group than the one that took the field last year. The coaching staff is energized under Joe Brady, and the front office is doing the work necessary to keep building on what is already a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Scary hours are coming, and they are coming for the rest of the AFC. If you are as fired up about this Bills team as we are right now, make sure you hit that like button, go down to the comments, and drop your DJ Moore stat prediction for 2026. Catches, yards, and touchdowns. Let's hear it. And subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. As always, let's go Buffalo. All season long, go Bills.